everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to explore River Modern. Right now, even though we know River Modern is coming up on the 20th of February, and that is something like about just less than 1 week ongoing, I noticed that we still have a lot of inquiries coming in for River Modern. Some of the common concerns that people are raising up are things like, will it be a very dangerous decision to buy River Modern, or high-risk positioning because of the high land cost, and also for River Modern facing the river, does it mean that developers are going to load a lot on the river facing? So today we're going to address all these concerns that you have as a buyer for River Modern. And as usual, before I start, all the research are done solely by me, and if there's any concerns or questions that you feel are not clear in this video, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to answer all your inquiries. And for River Modern, it's a developer by GuocoLand, and that's something that we are very familiar with at this point of time. It is also a 99 years leasehold with a total of 2 towers and 36 stories high. There's a total of 455 units for this development with 70% car park lots. Well, given its location so near to MRT, we are quite surprised that 70% car park lot is quite generous. And of course, the expected TOP is around 2030. We do foresee that it might be earlier, so maybe around 2029. If you do not know where is River Modern at this point of time, you should be able to understand from this map that it's actually just right across River Valley Primary School and about 5 minutes walk to Great World MRT. We know that River Modern is a CCR plot. The common questions that people are having is that, will this be a very expensive plot over here? Which I will also be addressing for you later on in the video because I am also equally curious as you. What are common concerns as a buyer or even as an investor, which I've gathered on the ground, is that some of us are considering whether is River Modern very high risk to invest in because, as mentioned, it's a CCR plot, but will I be the one that is overpriced? Is there actually an oversupply situation there? And what kind of layout should you be choosing if you're considering either a 2 or 3 bedder or even a 4 bedder? And how do you actually choose the right unit type for your profitability? And lastly, does view actually matter when it comes to resale? Because I'm sure some of us are thinking, maybe I just get a view that is not so nice and maybe I save a couple of hundreds of thousands, and in terms of when I want to sell, I may be able to have a bigger price advantage when I sell it due to my low entry price. And before we go on to understand how each and every one of these questions can be answered, I want to also touch on this important point, which is the developer pricing strategy. Why is it important to know this? A lot of my clients actually don't know how to understand when it comes to choosing the right unit type. What is a safe entry? How to make use of a developer's pricing strategy to choose the right facing layout or floor level. I want you to also have some knowledge about this because if you're considering to buy a new launch, there has been a big shift from how developer has priced their units last time for a non-harmonized project and now, which I will be going through the 3 common types of developer pricing strategy for you and which one will River Modern be adopting so you can be more aware of what to expect during the preview and balloting day. And last but not least, how can you use developers' pricing strategy to make the best of your purchase? Since the latest ruling of harmonization in June 2023, we have started to see that even developers are trying to adapt to the latest market changes. So as such, we know that now their profitable range has actually reduced greatly, and therefore, right now we are seeing 3 common types of loading that developers are doing. For the first type is unit type jump. So this unit type jump means that it used to be larger units have lower PSF and smaller units have higher PSF, if you remember. But right now, we are seeing developers using an opposite approach with smaller unit having lower PSF and load more on the larger units. And this means that if you're considering to buy a larger unit, let's say 4 bedder or even 3 bed plus study or premium, you can notice that actually your entry price in terms of per square feet is higher than the ones that are smaller units like the 2 bedder or even a 1 bedder. And I will give you more examples as we go along. The second common type of developer pricing strategy is per floor jump. Now, maybe last time there is a lot of research done to actually pull out all the data to see one by one how developer price it. And that's why last time we don't have a lot of data and a lot of buyers are buying with emotions. And that is also one of the reasons why a lot of buyers have a lot of fear because they don't know how to back up with their decision and henceforth they delay their decision making and end up buying higher each time. But thankfully right now with a lot of research, we are able to understand that actually developer does load a lot on their per floor jump, which means that if you're looking at a 60th story or 62 story or even like 40th story high building, each developer is adopting a per floor jump strategy. You will notice that the lowest floor to the highest floor can be as wide as a 700 PSF difference. And then the last one is, of course, the view jump. View jump means that there will be specific developments that has very nice view, like maybe landed facing or pool and unblocked view, like Penrith, you have all the way facing the landed and the unblocked greenery, and you have Lentor Modern, which is facing landed view as well, and also sea view and also river view. And therefore, why I want to address this is because there might be a very good chance that River Modern might be adopting this strategy for view jump, and this is something that we do need to look out for, and I will talk about this as we go along. So when developer decides to load on each floor jump based on the view, you can also notice their gap can be actually quite big for one that is without any view and one that has a view. Let's go to the unit type jump. What I mean by the smallest unit type with lower PSF and the larger unit type with higher PSF. For Zion Grand, right, you can actually notice that their one bedder is at 474 square feet, and usually this is about 200 to 300 PSF higher than other developments, like other units in the same development. But this time around, since it's a harmonized project, CDL decides to price Zion Grand at 3,002 per square feet for this particular unit on the 62th floor. The entry quantum was only at 1.5 million. Now fast forward, you can actually see the 2-bedroom compact at 538 square feet. Their PSF is also sitting at about 3,002 PSF and resulting in a quantum of 1.7 million. Now if you take a look at the 4-bedroom premium, you can observe the very quick jump from the 50th floor all the way to 53rd floor, already going at 3,003 to 3,004 per square feet. This is actually quite a small difference that you can see from a 3,002 for the lower unit type and top floor versus a not top floor yet but already at 3,003 to 3,004 for Zion Grand. But at this moment as we are speaking, there are actually leftover units in Zion Grand and they are actually not transacted yet. But if you take a look at the pricing, you can notice that their 4-bedroom premium with study and private live, they are already calling for 44th floor at 3,003 PSF and all the way to the 61st floor at 3,005 PSF. With this is actually one of the strategies that you can now commonly observe if the developers are using the per floor jump as their loading. Which means at this moment, if you are a buyer who is considering buying a Zion Grand project, you might be thinking, maybe I should choose from the lower floor up, which I see very common in a lot of buyers these days. Gone are the days where we actually adopt this strategy if this is the kind of per floor jump strategy that developers are adopting. We should actually adopt a top-down approach. And that is the reason why my client actually eventually buying a 50th over story and one more at the top floor, because they notice that it makes much more sense for us to leverage on an unblocked view, leverage on the smaller unit type, and actually still be able to use the larger bedroom types PSF to push out our profitable range. So what my buyer bought was a 3-bedder and the other buyer bought was a 2-bedder. Both of them are from 50th to 60th over floor. And if today you are buying a project, whether it's going to be River Modern or not River Modern, I do want you to be mindful of this per floor jump and take a look whether the larger unit types do have higher PSF than your smaller unit type. If that is the case, you can feel very safe purchasing maybe a 3-bedder and knowing that the 4 or the 5-bedder, for example, even like Promenade Peak, will be able to give you the very good price gap strategy so that when you buy a 3-bedder or your 2-bedder, you are able to leverage on this and make the best of your purchase. And of course, who doesn't enjoy unblocked view with all this city view at a much lower quantum, something that you probably won't be able to see if the developer adopts a normal pricing strategy like how traditionally they used. So the second type of strategy that we see most common is per floor jump. So if you are someone who has gone through balloting before and you are advised to start from bottom up, most of the time it's actually because the top floor and the lowest floor has a gap of 600 plus to 700 PSF difference. And in this context, you can actually notice that the larger unit types will experience lower PSF than smaller units. So this is the traditional way. So if you are seeing a developer that's adopting this approach, then of course my advice is start from the lower floor up so that you can leverage on the top floor's difference for your own gains. Let's take for example River Green, where it's a 2-bedder and it's on level 2. It has already been transacted at 2,986 with a quantum of 1.8 million. Now as we speak, I also noticed that the top floor on the 36th floor for both 2-bedders of the same size has a per square feet of 3,600 plus PSF. That means to say, if I take reference to this level 2 unit at 2009 versus their 3006, there is a gap of 676 per square feet. And at this moment, it is apparent that anyone who is buying from mid to low floor at Rivergate's 2-bedder will definitely stand to benefit from their purchase because of this price gap. And this is what I mean by per floor jump strategy. And also, you can notice that the 4-bedder or the larger unit types has lower per square feet than the smaller units, which is how it used to be traditionally. And if you're seeing this, then of course, another layer of approach will be buying the biggest size as you can, since the PSF is already lower than the smaller units. So two things, the lower the PSF, the better the benefit. So buy the larger floor plates and lower level. This will allow you to have two benefits in this purchase. One example is Martin Modern. Of course, we know that during a launch, a lot of units will not be fully sold within one launch. There will be situations where developers try to offload their property or aim to offload their property at least from 60% onwards, so that they can have more flexibility for their pricing moving forward and they don't have to rush to sell. If this happens, then we will usually fall under phase 1, which means if the developer is adopting a per floor jump strategy. You can also observe that there's leftover units. If the project hasn't reached 60% sold, most of the prices are still under phase 1 and phase 2. So why is it phase 1 and phase 2? Because we all know that usually after the early mover balloting, they will still increase price by maybe 1% or maybe 2%, depends. Anyone who is buying a project at phase 1 with this approach and at a lower floor, larger floor plate, of course you will stand to benefit, because as the rest of the phases happens when units are being sold in due time, the developer will also help you to push up the price for the leftover units. And henceforth, if you take an example in Martin Modern, they are launched in July 2017 and they are fully sold in August 2021. What happened with this same stack unit that you are seeing right now is that in the stack 02, there are actually buyers who bought during phase 1, which is this 0202 unit. He actually bought it at 2,730 per square feet. With 2,730 per square feet, as they go on during the construction period, they notice that in phase 2, on the 18th floor, which is same stack, was sold at 2,773 per square feet. Now you see that this jump is actually not too big because there is only about 1 year plus of gap. But as we go on to phase 3, that's where developer does the most loading. And you see the next buyer who bought it on the 30th floor has to buy it at 2,821 per square feet. This means that anyone who just wait out over here and don't buy any unit and wait till later on when all the rest of the land bids are higher and the rest of the projects are higher, will end up having to buy at a higher floor at a premium price and a revised price in phase 3. So if you are a buyer thinking of opportunity, I want you to understand this concept on top of just the developer pricing strategy, because it can certainly benefit you in knowing what lies ahead for you as a buyer before you take the plunge to buy or not. And some of the things that you also want to be mindful is that this is usually quite standard for maybe more than 90% of the new launches in Singapore. So if you do have a chance, go for the early mover and choose the bigger size as you can. Lower level is okay, so that you can allow the rest of your gains to come in place. When you take keys to the unit, you can see that actually you have already benefited greatly from the gains. Now, the third kind of developer pricing strategy is the view jump. So view jump is quite standard. A lot of people will be saying, if this is a better view, of course developer will do a lot of loading. Now, how do we actualize it? If you take a look at Lentor Modern, which is one of GuocoLand's development, and in fact it's their first development in OCR area, you can notice that there's actually two examples for you. The first one is actually stack 11 and the other one is stack 19. Over here, you can notice that this facing is all the pool and landed facing. For a typical 2-bedder over here on stack 11, their entry price was 2,359 per square feet at the time when they were buying in September 2022. Just 1 day before that, there were also another buyer who bought right behind stack 11, same 2-bedder, same size, and entry at only 2,122 per square feet, which means that there's almost an approximate 200 PSF difference, which is what we also notice if developers want to adopt a view jump approach. And if we go to a 3-bedder, you can see that similarly with stack 19 and stack 17, which is just back to back, one having a landed or pool facing has an entry of 2,139 PSF in September 17. And also on the same day, another buyer purchased a non-landed facing at only 2,050 per square feet. So this is a very obvious example to let you know that if you are choosing to buy a unit for investment, of course we will choose a lower PSF entry so that you can use the one with landed facing or nicer facing to push up your gains. Another epic example we have is Riviere. Riviere actually is very near to River Modern, as you would know. And what we also observed is that most of the units in Riviere are all river facing. But river, there's actually two parts of it. One part is small river, another part is long and nice river. So with this, the developer also was very careful with the way they price and still wants to make some gains out of it. You can notice that this stack 6, which is facing the river also, but has a smaller river over here. And if you take a look at stack 2, which is facing the longer, nicer river, take a look at their PSF difference, one with a smaller river, one with a longer, nicer river. The PSF gap is 185 PSF difference. From 2.5 to 2.6 may not look very different, but if you break it down, 185 PSF does make a difference in terms of the quantum because one only entered at 2.054 million, while the other one entered at 2.2 million. So if you're a buyer buying for investment, of course we wouldn't mind a smaller river facing because you get to save almost about 200,000. And if you go down to another example in Riviere for another 2-bedder, on stack 6 itself on the higher level, one actually entered at 2,944 PSF while the other was actually entering at 3,121 PSF. That having said, the difference is 177 PSF on the higher level at 31st floor, which means in terms of quantum is about 100,000 plus more for one facing a smaller river and one facing a longer river. But at 31st floor, to be frank, you probably see more of the skyline view than the river. It still addresses the fact that developer does have loading on a nicer facing than the other one with a not so nice facing. So if you observe River Modern, likely will be adopting this. On the day of show flat visit, it's very important for us to pick up the units that we have consideration in. Fortunately, I already have the price matrix. We will be discussing on what price is safe and not so safe later. But we still want to be very, very cautious that if we were to go down for balloting, we will want to mark out the units that are river facing and at which level onwards, when it crosses a particular PSF, we will not want to go ahead. So we will be able to help you to walk through this journey because we understand balloting is very messy and we want to ensure that we do it in a very safe and logical manner. So do let me know if you have consideration to go for River Modern because I want to ensure that you have the best experience making a very sensible decision. In summary, for developers' pricing strategy, I want to encourage you to be mindful of how developers price their unit because this really can enable you to select the best unit and make the best of your investment. We wouldn't want to generalize that this development cannot buy or that development cannot buy kind of things. I also wouldn't want to tell you, oh, this one can buy, that one cannot buy in terms of the project. But we want to dive deeper into how they price it because this is where we are able to spot the opportunity for you to go ahead, knowing that all this homework are already done before you take the plunge. With all this being said, what are the possible price matrix for different bedroom types? To understand this better, this was just announced yesterday. And I don't know when you're watching this video, but it was just announced yesterday and my yesterday was the 11th of February. The developer actually put this out to all of us and said that River Modern is going to start from 2008-ish PSF. Something that we had already predicted, but slightly lower than what we predicted because we were expecting about 2009. So 2-bedroom is going to start from 2877 PSF and 3-bedroom 2883 PSF, very attractive, and 4-bedroom 3134 PSF. Looking at this alone, you can now apply what you learned previously about the fact that number one, developer will load more on the larger unit type than a smaller unit type. So this is already one aspect. And the second thing is that will they really be loading on the view facing? This is something that has not yet been discussed, but we might be mindful of this during the balloting day. Based on transaction in River Green, we also observed that there are a few units at 2008 plus PSF at that time, and this is exactly what River Modern is doing as well. So you should be expecting River Modern to be averaging around 3,001 to 3,002 for their non-river facing. I want to manage your expectation in this because this is for us to assess whether is this really a high purchase or actually is a low purchase. To understand this better, let's take a look at the palatability of resale and subsale buyers within this area. For example, let's take a look at Awell Hill. Awell Hill has two-bedder already transacting between 3,000 to 3,072 PSF during this period from January until May. So why is it important for you to know this? Because we will be using the harmonized projects around here. But we also want to be sensible to know how are the resale moving, because I'm starting to observe that resale transactions are getting very close to new launches, especially those that are non-harmonized. And buyers are very concerned whether should I select a resale or select a new launch, because resale I don't need to wait, I can move in immediately. But if I buy a new launch, I need to wait for 3 years. I need to cater for rental during this period. Does it still make sense? Of course, this is a very subjective question, and if you feel that, I want to actually look at these numbers and tally with my current situation and minus off the rent, what is the net revenue or net gains I'm taking back, we will have to take it to our own session, because we won't be able to go so much into this today. But there is a way for us to calculate. With all this transaction happening for resale, and also all the transaction happening for the latest launches, how do you justify a safe entry, and how do you plan for your exit figure that you are looking at, and is it even sustainable or is it even workable? So back to Awell Hill, their two-bedder has already transacted 3,000 to 3,072 PSF with a quantum of 2.05 million to 2.23 million. This means that for the two-bedder, this is something that people around there are able to accept. How about their three-bedder? For their compact three-bedder in Awell, you notice that their PSF also is ranging at 2,996 up to 3,170 per square feet. And that means their quantum for a compact three-bedder non-harmonized project has already exceeded 2.5 million, going all the way up to 2.723 million. And if we go on to Awell's four-bedder, you can observe that their PSF is also sitting at around 2,008 to 3,192 PSF, with quantum between 4.32 million to 5.05 million. So looking at resale transaction, most of us will be thinking, then actually River Modern should be priced even higher, because their land cost is higher and they are actually harmonized, which means developer don't make as much. And at the same time, their PSF should actually be naturally higher than a non-harmonized project, because that's how the market works. But today's market, we are starting to see that actually it's not true, because the PSF for a non-harmonized project, which is just newly TOP not long for Awell, has already gone up to 3,001 PSF. If we look at Riviere, which is also very near to River Modern, you can also observe that Riviere, being a slightly older project than Awell Hill, two-bedder has transacted between 2,009 to 3,056 PSF, which is similar with Awell Hill. And their quantum also ranges from 2.4 to 2.5 million. Mainly because in Riviere, we know that the developers actually build their unit types or the size of their unit to be really large. Their typical two-bedder can be 818 to 840 square feet. Something that we won't be able to find in other projects, to be frank, not even for the later projects now. So that having said, we also expect that Riviere will set the bar over there for the river facing to be two-bedder between 2.4 to 2.5 million. So frankly, anything smaller or lower price in quantum could be actually worth a consideration because of this benchmark that Riviere has been setting. So let's move on to Riviere's three-bedder. For the Riviere's three-bedder, you can actually observe that their PSF ranges from 3,066 to 3,170. That means that their quantum for their compact tree to their premium tree can be between 3.2 to 3.7 million. For their four-bedder is 3,022 per square feet at 6.05 million. Knowing this will allow you to have insights for two areas. First is the per square feet tolerance. The buyers around here are willing to pay above 3,000 PSF readily because they are aware that this is the area that they are okay with, and they also understand it's a CCR project. And in terms of quantum, for their three-bedder has already gone up to 3.2 to 3.7. So we want to also take reference from this into River Modern, because next time if we were going to sell, we will likely also aim to sell around the price that Riviere has already transacted in resale. And this is to also give you a bit of safety net, because most of the buyers are concerned, if I buy at a much higher quantum than the resale market, I will have a harder time to offload the River Modern in due time. And if today I'm seeing the reverse, I'm able to enter at a quantum that is at how much they bought at during launch and exit at the same time they are selling now in resale, then I think it's a very safe buy because there are already movements and it's palatable by the buyers as proven with transaction. For their 4-bedder, there's only one transaction and we are seeing 6 million. So what I'll be interpreting is that the 6 million, only one transaction, might not be a very good benchmark for me to decide whether 4-bedder is safe to buy or not, because one transaction doesn't mean anything. So that's how we want to look at the data. And Rivergate, in terms of the overview of transaction range, for their 2-bedder is between 1.8 all the way to 2.3 million. For 3-bedder is 2.6 to 3 million, that's for Rivergate. And for 4-bedder is 3.2 all the way to 3.5 million. And bear in mind that their 4-bedder is 980 square feet, because what Rivergate had was smaller unit type. They actually place more focus on the smaller unit type, and they don't have larger units above 1,000 square feet. That means that a lot of people who are buying Rivergate have a first-hand experience to live in CCR without the hefty price tag, because the quantum is smaller and therefore they find it more palatable to enter. So for Rivergate, if you remember, their land bid was at 1,325 per square feet. This averages out to 3,150 PSF across all bedroom types, except with 4-bedder being 3,278 PSF, which is 128 PSF higher than others. So now, if you remember, when developer decides to price the larger unit type higher than the smaller unit types, then of course it makes sense for us to go for the mid to smaller unit type in order to leverage on the larger unit. Those who are buying Rivergate, I hope that you have adopted this strategy correctly, and I wish you all the best. In summary, to look at the gap between a harmonized versus a non-harmonized project, you can observe that an unharmonized project is Well and Riviere, and their general 2-bedder is 2.23 million, with Riviere at 2.5 million. This is unharmonized project in terms of quantum. And for a harmonized project, you can observe that for Rivergate, their general 2-bedder, and these are all above 600 square feet units, are already transacting at 2.358 million. And if today we are able to go into River Modern at 2.1 million range, I think this gives you a very good 200,000 safety net between both harmonized projects from River Modern to Rivergate. And at the same time, for an unharmonized project, we know that people are willing to pay up to 2.5 for 2-bedder. But of course for Riviere is 818 square feet. So we need to buffer down, and if I take a look, I think the average for 2-bedder for unharmonized should be around 2.4 million range. So if River Modern is going at 2.1 to 2.2 million, I still think that it's a very safe entry price, and that is only if your PSF is around 3,002 or even lower. And for their 3-bedder, what you'll be expecting is a Well is already transacting at 2.7 million, and Riviere is transacting also at 2.7 million. With that, Rivergate is already sold at 3 million, and what we will be seeing after this is your River Modern should be going at about 2.65 million, given that if we are using 3,002 PSF. On a conservative 3,002 PSF, your quantum is still relatively lower than Rivergate, and also relatively reasonable or very close to the unharmonized project at 2.7 million range. So today, if you're a buyer, you know that Well and Riviere is already transacting at 2.7 million, and I am able to get River Modern at 2.7 or even lower. I would definitely prioritize River Modern because it makes it so much of a value buy than other projects that might be coming up. And also for 4-bedder, we also want to know that Well's 4-bedder is already sold at 5 million, Riviere is at 6 million, and for Rivergate, which is 980 square feet being the smallest unit type, is already sold at 3.5 million. Today, River Modern might be transacting at 4.9 million because their 4-bedders are facing the river. And if I'm using 3,003 PSF, 4.9 million, I might have a bit of concern because the gap between Rivergate and River Modern is quite big. We might want to be extra mindful that since it's about 1.4 million higher than Rivergate, first I have a bigger size of 1,004 plus to 1,008 plus square feet for their 4-bedder. I also want to know that next time if I'm going to sell, Rivergate at 980 square feet will probably only need to sell at 4.2 million probably when they are selling in the market at that time, and it's next to Great World City. For River Modern, if I'm going in at 4.9 million with river facing, I may end up having to sell it at 5.5 million. So the big gap between a very, very compact 4-bedder at Rivergate versus a river-facing but very spacious 4-bedder at 5.5 million, there might be some risk involved in this area because there will definitely be buyers who may not want to pay a premium in such a location at 5 over million, because I understand that a lot of buyers are considering 5 million onwards, I might as well buy a landed and so on. The truth is that people who are buying River Valley area, they do enjoy big space and their quantum can go up to 5 to 6 million, as proven in Zion Gwen and as proven in Promenade Peak. But on a conservative level, I still want to be mindful about this. There's going to be a 1.3 million difference between River Green's future selling price and River Modern. So this one, I would exercise some caution when I'm deciding to buy. Concurrently, as I'm speaking this, if I take reference to the unharmonized project, I will realize that Awell and Riviere, one being 5 and one being 6 million already transacted, could give me a bit of booster for my decision making, because they are already transacting higher than what I'm buying in at 4.9 million. So you want to see how much you like the 4-bedder, because most of us who are buying 4-bedder could be buying for longer term holding. And if it doesn't matter to you, it's still a 50-50 tie, then go ahead and consider buying the floor level that you like. Just make sure that you exercise prudency when you purchase it. So if today you are a buyer, would you choose resale or new sale in River Valley? You can type your answer in the comment. Back to River Modern, with all these many numbers that we are discussing, I want to ask you, how do you think developer will then price their units with this spread? They have a mixture of 2-bedder, 2-bedder plus, 3-bedder, 3-bedder plus, flex, and even 4-bedder and 4-bedder plus. So with this very wide spread of unit types, unlike River Green where most of them are focused on smaller unit type, we are also very curious to see how developer will price it. And prior to understanding that, let's take a look at River Modern on a site plan. If you take a look at this, we know that it's really close to Great World City. And one of our partners has actually taken a walk from River Modern's actual site all the way to Great World MRT, and it only took her 5 minutes. So with 5 minutes stone throw to Great World MRT, this project is divided into 2 zones. So what do I mean by 2 zones? You can observe that there will be one side which is river facing. This side is actually river facing, and the other side over here is the school facing. I'm going to just tell it school facing because River Valley Primary School is just right opposite, and it's probably easier for you to recognize that. With school facing and river facing, the stacks will be 2-bedder at stack 8 and 9, which are the larger unit types for 2-bedder, and also stack 10, 2, 1, 4 for 3-bedder, stack 7 and 3 for 4-bedder. For the non-river facing, which is school facing, you will have stack 12, 5, 6 for their 2-bedder, and stack 11 and 13 for 3-bedder. So interestingly, you notice that there's no 4-bedder facing the school. And at this point, you will already know that likely the developers will have loading on their 4-bedder. So one, they will load probably on the bigger unit type. Second, they might load on the river facing. So on the day of balloting, do be very mindful about this and take reference to river and non-river facing to see the gap. How do I categorize what is low risk for 2-bedder, 3 and 4? So for 2-bedder, with all these numbers that we have researched and shared earlier, I would definitely say that 3002 and lower are considered low risk for their 2-bedder. And for 3-bedder, I would definitely say that 3002 and below is also safe. So for 3002 and lower, it means that your compact 2-bedder should not exceed 1.721 million, which is very safe because there's transaction up to 1.8, if you remember. And their normal 2-bedder will be 2 million, and their premium 2-bedder will be 2.1 to 2.2 million. Then if you take a look at 3-bedder, it should be around 2.5 to 2.6 million for their compact 3-bedder, which is still relatively reasonable because it's already transacting up to 2.7 million. But of course, what I'm saying is the highest point of tolerance. If I go anything lower, these are all my push factor or booster for decision making or selection of units. And if I go on to their premium 3-bedder, what you will notice is the entry price will be between 2.8 all the way to 3.5 million. As the sizes goes bigger, we also observe that you shouldn't expect a lower PSF over there, and therefore you should expect maybe a 3,000 to 3,050 PSF onwards, which makes your starting quantum for your larger 3-bedder river facing at 3.3 million onwards. Frankly speaking, if it's 3.3 million to 3.4 million, I think it's still okay to go into for their 3-bedder because it's still very palatable, and their size is 1,098 versus 1,109, unlike River Green, which is 980. So this price has already been transacted at River Green, and this time around I'm trading in for 3-bedder river facing, spacious, harmonized. I think this is also very easy to offload in future. So what do I consider as mid-risk? To me, mid-risk is from 3,250 PSF all the way to 3,400. I think this is mid-risk lah. Anything more than 3,004, I will consider this is increased risk. I won't say high risk, but you know what I mean. And then for their 3-bedder, also the same until about 3,250 to 3,004 because the quantum itself is still up to 2.7, 2.8 million for their compact 3. And of course, as we go on to the larger unit type, then you'll notice it's 3 million and river facing is 3.7 million. And then if you notice for their 2-bedder, the quantum still sits at between 1.8 to 2.1 million for their normal compact 2-bedders. Lastly, for their 4-bedder, based on River Green, it's already transacted between 3,002 to 3,005. And if we are able to enter our 4-bedder from 3,001 all the way to 3,004, I feel this is still a range that I would consider if I'm buying it as a buyer. And if I have to see that I'm crossing 3,004 to go out to 3,450 to 3,006 even, I might not really go ahead because the quantum is at 5-6 million onwards all the way to the mid-5 and mid-6 already. So if you are thinking of buying a 4-bedder, I feel that the quantum at about early 4 million for their compact 4-bedder, which is 1,400 plus square feet, is still good. And if you are feeling generous and want to buy it for long-term stay and for generations to come and you want to go for a 4-bedder, large one, the 1,830 square feet unit, you would see yourself starting from 5.6 million and probably stop at around 6 million range would do. Because this is still really a very lifestyle home. I think that is probably the max I will go for my lifestyle home. Next, does view actually matters when it comes to resale value? What we want to dive deeper to really understand, hey, I'm paying a slightly premium value for my view. And if I'm paying a premium for my view, I want to know next time if I want to sell, can I really sell it at a good gains or not? This case study, we definitely need to use Rivergate because there's enough transaction in Rivergate for us to look at it and assess whether do I need to really buy a unit with a view. At Rivergate, we're going to discuss 2-bedders, and over here you can see there are 2 stacks that are actually facing the river and there's 1 stack that is not facing the river. In terms of floor plan, I have marked it out which area of the floor plan is facing the river. If you take a look at stack 13, which has the best view, it's actually the balcony and also the bedrooms facing the river. And then it's at 1,055 square feet for their 2-bedder. I know the size is usually big for older projects over there because during that era, they are known to build 2 things, planter, bay window, and larger floor plates. For their stack 14, their square feet is 1,023 square feet. These are also the stacks that are facing the river, and actually it's quite nice because their bedrooms are facing the river and also their living area and their balcony. And you notice that their bedroom does not have planter for the stack 14. And lastly, there's also stack 16, which has no view, the inside facing. That's why you don't see the purple marking there. What happens with their gains is, if you notice, the ones with best view is of course stack 13. What you will observe if we take a comparison between stack 14 and stack 16, they have bought around the same time and they have also sold around the same duration of holding. And if you notice, the similar duration of holding, one sold with better view at 485,000. The other one sold at 386,000 of gains. This has already shown the difference in terms of the gain. And if you take reference with another example, one with view and one without view, you can observe that the one with a better view is sold at 700,000 with same holding period versus another one at 626,000 gain with no view. And lastly, the one with the best view is at stack 13. And you observe that for stack 16, which is no view, it has already been transacting at 762,000 of gain with 9 years of holding. When it comes to view, where people really seems to mind, the seller actually made 1.334 million of gain over just 1 extra year or maybe 10 more months of holding. So this is also something that is very apparent to let us know that you buy with view or you buy without view, there's definitely going to be gains. But if you want to actually benefit from having a view and have more gains with using the right developer strategy and at the same time being confirmed that you are buying a price that is safe, you can also observe your gains will also be equally generous when it comes to your resale in future. So if you take that into perspective, stack 16, which is their gross ROI, is sitting at about 29.7% over their holding period. And stack 14 is at 33% and stack 13 is at 108%. So this actually is one example to show to us that view does matter, of course with the right pricing strategy, to make the best of your purchase, and there are people who are willing to pay a larger quantum for a better view. Next, we're going to take a look at the 3-bedders, with stack 5 being 1,496 square feet, stack 11 same size as well, and stack 12 with the best facing. If you take a look at this floor plan comparison, Stack 12 having the best view will be over here where all the bedrooms are looking out to the river. And Stack 11 will be having their rooms looking out into the river here as well, and also partial view from the balcony. And then Stack 5, which has no view, larger size at 1,507. So how are we going to take the comparison is if you take a look at this, you can observe that Stack 5, which is the one with no view, has made a gain of 1.5 million over a holding period of 15 years. Then moving forward to Stack 11, which is the one with view in the room, both of the rooms, one is the master room and one is the smaller common room and balcony. They has made about 2.04 million over the same holding period of 15 years. And lastly, with the best view, they have made a gain of 2.118 million over also 15 years of holding. And in terms of ROI, one is sitting at 67% with 4.5% per annum, while the other one is 87% with 5.7%. The one with the best view will be 118% with 7.9% per annum. So this is also incongruent with the importance of having a good view where people are willing to pay a bigger quantum for this lifestyle. So unit with the best view with same holding duration, the one with the best view will definitely has the highest gain. Let's explore their 4-bedroom. For both 4-bedroom, their size is relatively big. One is 2,077 square feet, another one also with 2,077 square feet, and then 1,894 is the one with the most unblocked. With this, you can notice that set 6 and 8 with 2 bedrooms facing river has a gross ROI of 43%, with Stack 8, the maximum gain is 1.8 million. Whereas for Stack 6, their maximum gain is 2.08 million with also 12 years of holding, and their gross ROI is 51% with 4.29% per annum. Let's take a look at Stack 10, where it's the one with the most unblocked view. For Stack 10, for 4-bedder, you can observe that their holding period ranges from 10 to 13 years. For 10 to 13 years, their holding period, they have gains from 2 million all the way to 2.4 million. Why is it important for you to know this? Stack 10 is the one with the smallest size, whereas the other two are the ones with the bigger size. Yet they are still able to get a gain of more than what the rest are getting, with their gross gains over their holding period of 86.5% and averaging per annum gain at 7.21 per annum. So in summary, 4-bedroom layout is good and also unblock is key. Last question. With River Modern being the only project with river view, will there still be growth opportunity? Let's take a look at what this means. Firstly, we understand that what is around River Modern is another plot which we call it Parcel C. But other than Parcel C, the next plot that's coming up will be their hotel plot, which means that it is true that River Modern facing the river is really that last plot over there. And the other one will be hotel, which has no relevance for us. And with this, what most of the buyers are concerned is last plot lah. For sure, developer will try to make the best out of it. So what happened with Parcel C is it will be actually launching in April this year, which means another 2 more months we're going to see Parcel C being put up for tender. And if you understand how River Valley works, there are 2 parts of River Valley. There will be one specific niche area that has river view, and the ones behind will be the ones without river. So these are the condos that has river view as of now. You can see there's Martin Modern, there's Rivergate, there's Avinia, there's also up at Robertson Quay, Pier at Robertson, Riviere and Trillium. So there's a mix of freehold and 99 years over here with their TOP year over here. Now, if you look at the TOP here, you know that the one that is closest to us in terms of the age will be Avinia and as well as Riviere. And the rest will be actually much older. I also want to understand within 500 meters from MRT, with or without river, how many competitors are we actually having? If you take a look at this, you can observe there's a total of 4 competitors and out of 3 are already above 15 years old. And one is actually less than 3 years old. The rest are all unharmonized. Importantly, we need to know is the rest are actually all unharmonized. Because unharmonized project is starting to see a very big quantum as compared to non-harmonized at this point of time. Even though we are sitting at a higher PSF generally, it's not really that high as how we imagine it to be because most of the developers right now are adopting a very safe approach. And that is definitely beneficial for us because developers are fully aware that there's quite a plentiful of launches this year and they also don't want to hold too much stocks. So of course they want to offload as fast as they can before they move on to the next ballot or next tender. With this, our direct competitors will definitely be Riviere and the rest will be much older than us and some even freehold with bay window and wastage of space like planters as well. By now you should know. So if we're going to explore Parcel C before we decide whether Parcel C is going to be our competitor or not in terms of pricing, will they actually be selling cheap? Let's understand that from River Green until River Modern, there's already been a 313 PSF jump from the time River Green was launched. When River Green was launched, their estimated break-even price was sitting at 2,200 PSF. And then when it comes to River Modern, their break-even price became 2,571. This is actually quite concerning because nobody will expect River Modern to be launching at 2,800 plus PSF. So will there be opportunities? I'm sure there will be. So with 1 year apart of 313 PSF difference in break-even, how has it been transacting? For River Green's two-bedder, you can actually observe that their highest PSF has gone up to 3,004 to 3,005. And their lowest is at 2007 to 2009. With this, you can observe their average PSF is around 3001 to 3002. Most of the time, if we will be able to see that actually River Modern's break-even is 313 PSF higher than River Green, I should expect River Modern to be around 3002 to 3007. But today we are expecting River Modern to be 2008 plus PSF starting from. This is really a very good sign for any investors because today I'm able to buy probably River Green's pricing but with Riverview and a much better developer. I cannot stress any further about our safe entry price. That if I'm able to buy and what the average transacting has already done deal in River Green, at 3,002 downwards, then I will definitely encourage you to go for it. But if today your ballot queue number does not allow you to do this and you are over here, does it mean that you cannot buy? The answer is a yes and no. Probably you need to watch till the end because I'll be talking about Parcel C in a moment. So up here, the safe entry is up to 3,002. I hope this is in your mind at this point. And anything above 3,002, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to help. Let's take a look at future land costs because it is the determining factor for you to decide whether River Modern is expensive or not too expensive, or maybe even a good buy. If you take a look at future land cost 1 in CDL that has just happened in February 6, the top bidder at Tanjong Rhu sites from CDL at 1,455 PSF. If you remember how River Modern was launched, River Modern's launch was 1,420 PSF per plot ratio. So since we know 1,420 PSF per plot ratio is what it has already done in River Modern being a CCR project, the question is, Tanjong Rhu being an RCR plot is already selling at CCR price. I want to ask you, how much do you think this Tanjong Rhu site will be launched next year? Because if today River Modern's price is the RCR price in next year's launches, then I want you to think carefully, will there be an opportunity? Because one is CCR plot and one is RCR plot. Also for Newton, you can observe that it's already done deal in November 12 that their PSF per plot ratio is 1,820 in Newton. A lot of agents will be saying next time the CCR price, right, with 1,820 being the first plot there, will be probably launched at about 3,008 PSF starting from. So they will be saying that, oh, River Modern right now is at 1,420 PSF with 2,800 starting from, probably around 3,001 to 3,003 range. It's still actually a value buy if you were to look at it. Of course, some of us will be quite skeptical. Maybe I should just wait for the market to show signs of coming down. And if you are someone who is very savvy, at this point of time, all these news that are already generated out in the public are already done deal transactions. And I'm sure all of us know that there's simply no developers that are willing to sell at a loss because construction cost is going to be the real legit costing that they have to do. Marketing, legalities and all this will be the cost they need to cover when they put up their unit for launches. Maybe a lot of buyers may not be able to embrace the new market trend and they may need another 6 months to 1 year to keep up with it. And there will be another group of buyers who can keep up with it and know what is happening. I want you to really be careful and ask yourself which zone are you in right now if you are really buying for investment. Because the fact is a fact. What has already been done, deal and transacted has already been done. But of course, doesn't mean we need to rush and anyhow buy. We also still need to exercise caution when we purchase, and that's why I'm doing this video, to share with you some of the data that can back you up. And if you take a look at the gap between CCR and RCR, you notice that at this point of time, we are sitting at 9.95%. Last month when I was doing my webinar, I was seeing an 11% gap. And now I'm seeing a 9.95%. This is actually quite vivid because we are really seeing the gap to be really narrowing before it actually widens again. So there is this window of opportunity to get a CCR project at this quantum. Of course, I think it's a good chance. And not all CCR projects can buy, because some CCR projects or most CCR projects, unfortunately, I don't really advocate for. So there will be some that I advocate for, and there will be plenty that I don't. If you are keen to know what do I not advocate for, you can leave a comment below and I can actually share with you more. And I want you to also understand, what do we actually, agents always tell you, first mover advantage. Because this is very subjective. Some of us will be thinking first mover advantage is just because agent want to sell us a property. But it's not really true, because even as agent, we are considering to buy our property. We also have to embrace this, because in other countries, we cannot. But over here, we can. Why? Because simply everything is transparent. If you take a look at the upcoming launch bid prices, you can observe that this will be the direction in terms of how the market will move. A Tanjong Rhu site has just received tender for 1,455 PSF per plot ratio. And moving forward, you can actually see that even for this Newton area is 1,820. Even for the upcoming launch in Dun Ern is going to be 1,410. For Holland is 1,432. So it's really the norm to be 1,004 to 1,005 PSF per plot ratio moving forward for the RCR plot or even CCR plot. So now let's go back to Parcel C. With all this information that we have just shared, how much do you think in April to August this year will Parcel C be balloted at? Because the thing is that we know that 1,400 plus is a norm, and not to even include Newton as 1,008 CCR project. If I just use the same rate of 7% gain from River Green to River Modern just 1 year apart, you can notice that Parcel C may or may not be launched at about 1,519 PSF or maybe even higher. So if this is the case, what I have gathered is that the potential quantum distribution for Parcel C, based on an average of 3,000 PSF starting from, you will notice that if we do a 2009, which is River Modern starting from price, plus the 7% will be 3,103. So if I take reference using on the lower range at 3,000 PSF starting from, with the same spread that River Modern is having, since their number of units is similar, if we take the average of their transaction at 3,300 PSF, you will see that their smaller two-bedder or even their average two-bedder will be sitting at about 2.1 to 2.2 million. And for their three-bedder will be averaging about 2.7 to 2.9 million, and their four-bedder will also be around 4.8 to 6 million. So if the figures are not too much of a difference, do you think buyers will take reference to buy from you or buy from Parcel C if you are considering River Modern? If we put them side by side to see the difference, one with an average of 3,002 per square feet and the other one with an average of 3,003 per square feet, you will observe that there's an approximate 100,000 higher. But this time round, there is no view, which means for Parcel C, there will be no view because it's blocked by River Modern, and one with view, 100,000 cheaper than Parcel C. So the decision is for you to think about it. All I can do is to show you the data so you can make more sound decision. Last but not least, let's wrap it up with a case study. If you compare CCR project development with Riverview attributes and also future launches, what you can also notice is that Rivergate versus Martin Place, one having Riverview and one having no Riverview. This is Martin Place and this is Rivergate. So Rivergate has this Riverview and Martin Place has no Riverview. With this, you can notice that when Rivergate was completed in 2009, Martin Place was also in 2011. The launch price of Martin Place was 15% higher than Rivergate's resale pricing. Currently, the average PSF of Rivergate is almost 10% higher than Martin Place. Reason being also because of the river view and the location. The river-facing development actually almost made double the profit within the same period. With Martin Place, it helps you to take reference that actually Martin Place also make very good gains. For a typical 4-bedder over there without view at 2,002 square feet unit, their gain is about 1.3 all the way to 2.3 million with 12 to 13 years of holding. With all these gains that the owners are making, average gain of 1.877 million over 12 years, making 156,000 per annum at about 4.5%. As for Rivergate, what you can see for their 4-bedder is they are smaller in terms of their size as compared to Martin Place. But their gains is 1.5 all the way to 2.4 million over a period of 11 to 12 and 13 years. So their average gain is about 2.1 million over 12 years, with 167,000 per annum, sitting at 6%. So there is still a gap of about 1.5% if you take reference from these two projects. In terms of floor plan, it is also equally important to observe that Martin Place has private lift, but a lot of wastage of space, like all this balcony space and the walkway. These are all wastage of space that maybe some clients may not like. And for Rivergate, it's more straightforward. Even though they have bay window and planter, the planter is not too big. Their bay windows are still acceptable, and they have nicer view, which is something that people can compromise for, and much better feel for own stay because it's mostly squarish. In summary, when it comes to resale, all buyers do buy with emotions. It also depends on how they feel when they come into the unit. When it comes to selecting a good unit for own stay, they also want to make sure that the layout is efficient. This will increase the future growth opportunity because the more the buyer pool for your unit type, the better your gains. So with that, I shall just end off with our River Modern's sharing today. If you are keen to find out how to read the floor plans and see which type of floor plans are suitable for you, feel free to leave me a DM and I'll be happy to help. And lastly, do be mindful that River Modern is going to be launched on the 20th of February until the 1st of March. If you are excited to walk through River Modern with me so that you are able to select your unit properly and carefully, do reach out and I will be more than happy to help as well. And if there's anything else that you're not sure, I'm always here. See you in my next episode.